Exactly. Now, it's 7:13, Matthew, Abraham, David Bevan with you on 891 Breakfast.
Lots of people love electric trains. So when the government announced that it was going to electrify large sections of the rail network, it went down fairly well. Hasn't gone down all that well in a certain section of Hallett Cove, because it appears to be dawning on the people there that the infrastructure surrounding the electrified rail might turn for them into a bit of an eyesore.
Well, the glossy material that comes out from the government, the rail revitalisation, the Noarlunga line, has got a photo of one of these proposed electric trains, and it's got a beautiful view of Hallett Cove and the beaches. This part's very close to the sea and the cliffs there, and it's a big deal. It's going to be quite a major public transport improvement. But one thing missing from the photos, when you have a look at this photo, hardly any wires. Now, electric trains need wires, and lots of them usually, particularly at certain junction points. One family, a number of families in Hallett Cove, have gone to the trouble of having a look at exactly what they understand will be in this section of Hallett Cove. And they look out over this.
Now, remember, these are people who, I imagine, bought their houses for the views. Yeah, these are multi-million-dollar views. It is a gorgeous part of the world. And they're now going to look on something which, according to them, it looks like something out of the Ruhr Valley. All of these poles and wires and ugly steel.
Murray Jonsson-Harrison lives in Hallett Cove. Good morning to you, Murray.
Good morning, Matt. How are you?
We're very well. Now, what have you found out about you and your husband and others about what exactly will be your view compared to the brochure that came out from the government?
Well, it's a really horrible view. What's happening outside about 5 of our houses on this street is that we are getting tensioner hubs, and they consist of portals, junctions, gantries, tensioners, double poles with cross members. And these hubs are supposedly going to be all the way from Noarlunga to Adelaide every approximately 1.6 kilometres. Now, what we are objecting to so very strongly is the fact that the design team have done the design from Queensland by Google Map or similar without a visual reference. So there has been no environmental or visual consideration of these, and these tensioner hubs, instead of being placed at an optimum spot, you know, away from houses and where we are in particular, there's 100 metres to the south of us, there's a perfect spot which has all the elements that it's needed.
But in engineering terms, can it be there? Do they need to be at these intervals?
It needs to be, the longest space in between is 1.6, according to the department, but they can be as short as 700 metres.
All right, so you think it could be juggled so they're in areas where they won't affect anybody?
Absolutely, and it's not just me that thinks so, but other engineers that we have asked about this.
Now, have you taken this up with either your local member or with the government directly?
Absolutely, ad nauseum. We have been trying to get meetings. We've been trying to get them up here. We have sent emails, letters. We have done everything in our power to get their attention, and we just get fobbed off. We get a lot of response from the Liberal Party, which has been wonderful, and also Nick Xenophon, but the Labor people have been really short on the ground.
Now, Murray, what are you planning to do? This sounds like something out of an old black and white silent movie.
It does a bit, doesn't it?
You're prepared to what? Don your high heels and lie across the track?
Absolutely. The thing about it all is I didn't want to just look like a normal greenie, because I think the papers have been full of those. Not that I don't think they're admirable for all their courses too, but I wanted maximum attention to our course, and I thought if that's going to take high heels and really colourful clothes, then I'll chain myself to the track.
Chloe Fox is the Labor MP and Minister for Transport Services. Good morning to you. And
good morning. Good morning.
This is in your electorate, Chloe Fox.
It is in my electorate. That's quite true.
Are you listening? Are you listening to people like Murray Jonsson-Harrison?
Oh, absolutely, and I'm disappointed to hear that she feels we haven't done so. We have been engaged in correspondence with her. We actually set up a meeting with her and her husband on Wednesday, the 27th of March, I think it was, which...
You didn't want to meet her at the track, at the point, is that correct?
No, that's actually not the case.
You want to meet in her office with all your experts and they weren't to bring anyone?
No, that's not the case at all. That's not the case at all. Hang on, sorry, we've got a dancing small Mr. Fox there. No, what we wanted to do was bring together as many people as we possibly could. Yes, that's correct, at my office, to have this conversation with them and to come up with solutions, which we subsequently did. We came up with a solution that we felt was adequate and that was obviously going to cost us more money and that we were quite happy to pay for, but the residents weren't happy with. Now, the reality is that this project has been going ahead since 2008, and I am very, very sorry to hear that they feel they haven't been listened to. I would respectfully disagree.
Okay, what is the solution that you have offered and they have rejected?
We're dealing with a certain topography here, which meant that we needed, and we still need to have, because of tension, a certain gantry there. So what we offered was actually a cantilevered option, which meant that the poles themselves would probably be visible from their homes, but only if you really tried to see them. And I'm very happy to provide for you and to provide for the residents again an image of how that would have been. And look,
do you think it's fair to say that the glossy photo on the glossy brochure doesn't really reflect the reality of what was proposed and is proposed there?
I would certainly say that the department have made every single attempt to have something accurate there, as they would have to do.
Well, do you think the photo looks anything like what will be there? In other words, the gantries, the junction boxes, the poles, the double poles close together? Because the image we've got...
you don't see any of that. It's just a nice little train on some tracks and then the beautiful ocean behind it.
Yeah, well, that's clearly not the way it was ever going to be, because electrification involves
if it was never going to be like that?
Well, this is material that was produced by the department some years ago, I imagine, so I don't have it in front of me. I can't comment on the exact status of where those poles are or are not. What I can say is that this is a multi-million-dollar project where we are investing a great deal of money in public transport in the south, and it goes from the city to Seaford. We're opening that up for the first time ever, and we really, really, really have tried our hardest to listen to people and to do what we can within the engineering space that we have.
They say, first of all, your second option is just as bad as the original plan, but they say that it would be possible to put these tensioner hubs in areas which would not spoil the view. Do you agree with that?
Well, I'm not an engineer, but from what I understand, we have a great deal of engineers who've been working on this project since 2008. They have world's best practice. They are highly qualified people. They're not being bloody-minded. They're trying to get the best outcome that they can.
Okay. Now, Vickie Chapman has called here on 891 Breakfast, 7:22. And a reminder, we talk to Chris Yulman after the 7:30 news. Good morning, Vickie Chapman.
Morning. Look, I've met with the people down at Howick Cove with a local candidate, and the reason is this: they were utterly frustrated that they were given really the fob off. Firstly, they were very angry that they had been deceived, really, in the material that they'd been given, and then they got something differently. I wrote to the Minister a couple of weeks ago, to Tom Cookson-Tonis, and to copy to Chloe Fox as the local member and covering transport services. Still no response. The commitment that they want, having been deceived, is to be able to say, look, we've had engineers tell us from your own department that this is possible, these are the obligations, this is the requirement, that can be up to 1.6 to 1.8 kilometres apart, and this particular area is one where they're just horrendous, with massive big cement poles, and you see this extra infrastructure that's there. So it's not really good enough for the department then to say one thing, and then for ministers to say, well, look, we don't know, the department are in charge of this, because the department are controlled by the...
Okay, but have they come up with a workable compromise?
Well,
in other words, I mean, you're going to have an electric train there either way. The view's not going to be what it is at the moment.
And I think, let me say this, all of the street came out, and I asked them, now, you're all happy with the upgrade? You're all happy to have this done? You understand that there's going to be extra infrastructure in front of you? Yes, we understand all that, and we fully support the upgrade. What they're furious about is that they're getting something different to what they told they're going to have, and then when they've gone back with the material, the people in the department say, yes, this is achievable, and then we've had ministerial override in the sense of they don't want to spend the money, so they're just going to push it through.
Let's put that point back to Chloe Fox. Is this a question of money? Chloe Fox, Minister for Transport Services and a local MP for this area.
No, it is not a question of money. In fact, the options that we came up with for the people in that street were going to cost us significantly more money. And given the way they were feeling, I actually felt that was reasonable. I think that the idea of deception is an extremely wrong idea, and I think it is in fact misleading. I'm very happy to go back to clear this up, to look at what material was produced from 2008 onwards, and to see exactly what images were produced at that time.
All right.
But any idea of deception is indeed a very misleading one.
Chloe Fox, thank you.
Thank you.
Local Labor MP for that seat and Minister for Transport Services. Mari Jonsson-Harrison, who lives in Hallett Cove. We may have to wait and see whether she does lay across the tracks there, the old steam train coming towards her, and maybe someone with a curly moustache, we don't know. It's 7:25. Matthew, Abraham, David Bevan with you right now, 12.8 degrees, partly cloudy in Adelaide.